finally time to make my Copic Ohuhu color matching chart. Here I have pre-swatched already all of my Copics and Ohuhus by color groups. And I made this table that has these slots for Copic and Ohuhu shades as well as multiple layers, because sometimes they might not be similar on one layer, but they might be closer when you go over twice or three times. If you're like me, you probably started your journey into alcohol markers with the Ohuhu sets because they are pretty affordable, they come in a lot of variations, but after about a year of use, I start to notice that a lot of my markers were drying out or running out of ink. I wanted to, one by one, replace them with the closest matching shade in Copic. However, I didn't have any store nearby, so I couldn't go and swatch them, and there was absolutely no guide online that matched the colors. So I ended up waiting out, buying the entire Copic Ciao collection, and I'm now making the color matching chart myself and sharing it with you guys here. I'm going to go through all the swatches and give a little bit of explanation because not all of them are perfect matches. So I think the grays are some of the ones that came out best. For the browns, I didn't find very good matches for the warmer shades here. As you can see, the Ohuhu BR2 is a little bit lighter and yellower. This swatch here, the E110, is a little bit more on the brown side, while the E15, the Copic, is a more warmer earth tone. I think the light pinks are pretty close. I would say perhaps the R19 is the one that I struggle most with. I think the closest is R11, but it is definitely a little more on the pink side versus the yellower, oranger R19. For the R12, I didn't find a good match. I thought this was pretty close in terms of values, but upon swatching all three layers, you can see that the Copic the R85 is more purple, while the R12 is more on the red side. For the V160, I think the color is really close, but the saturation is a bit off. If you go over it twice, it's a pretty solid match. Moving on to the second swatch, I thought the blues were very close with the exception of the more electric sort of shade of blue here, the 380. B29 was the closest match, but it was definitely a bit of a less saturated pairing here. PB, the purple blue 4, Ohuhu, the closest match in terms of value is B99, but as you can see, I hope you can see, PB4 is a lot more on the reddish, purplish sort of shade of blue, while B99 is more on the grayish side. The light blues were pretty close with the exception of B070. The rest of the greens are all pretty close until here, where the only color that I had for this sort of, I call it moldy green, the Ohuhu is GY42 and is a lot more yellow, while G99 is more on the grayish side. So that's not a very good match here. For the GY43, the Ohuhu one is definitely more yellow in tint, while G29 is more subdued. But beside that, I think they're pretty close. This swatch here, the Copic one, is on more of a yellow tint, but I do think it's pretty close when you go over a couple layers. And then finally, the Y230 is this kind of straw color here. The closest match in terms of desaturated yellows or browns that I found was YG91, but that's definitely more on the gray side. And then finally, we have the oranges and reds. I think this is probably the closest selection that I could match. They're all pretty close. The only exception is the Y5, which is sort of a very red, dark orange. I matched it with YR09, which, unlike everything else that I've shown you so far, it's not a Copic Ciao, it's a Copic sketch, so it's not in the original selection, and it's one of the few sketch markers that I have. But everything else is Copic Ciao's versus Ohuhu's. I think they're all pretty close in shade. Perhaps this one is the one that is more different. The Ohuhu one is more red, while the Copic is a little bit more on the purple side, but very, very close. So that is it. Finally managed to complete all the swatches. So this is not comprehensive. I only have the 216 collection, since then Ohuhu has expanded to a, I think, 300 and something pack. So I have some colors missing, so which I cannot find a match. But out of the standard Ohuhu 260, there are this many colors that I found that could be easily replaced with Copics. I'm going to upload these as scanned PDFs on YouTube. Hopefully you'll be able to download them and see for yourself. It's not a perfect system, but if you, like me, are starting to encounter markers that are starting to dry out, I have a couple of them that are just unusable. I've lost completely color and yeah, they have no ink. This would be a pretty decent way, I think, in terms of cost, to slowly replace your collection based on the colors that you use the most, without breaking bank and having to buy an entire set of Copics or an entire set of Ohuhus just for a couple colors that you're missing. So I hope you find this useful, and stay tuned. I'm going to upload hopefully some actual art. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope you find this useful, and until next time.